Alright, so we're continuing Sefer Tehilim, Psalms, chapter 19, Perek Yutet. Here David HaMelech goes in a completely different direction in bringing to our attention something very, very important. Nothing to do with his past, nothing to do with war and battle, with pain and suffering, as we've been reading quite a bit, quite extensively. There's a lot of that in Tehilim. And there's reason for sharing with us all that, because we will be going through life, unfortunately, with all kinds of experiences, and we need to be a little bit aware of not only how he dealt with them, but how not to give up hope, how to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in prayer, how to understand that everything is managed from above, even though it doesn't appear to us down here in this world, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, is in charge, and he manages the world. So ultimately there is tzedek, there is justice. We just don't always see it right away. We wish we did. But in the end, God arranges for everything to be straightened out one way or another. So in reading those chapters of Tehilim, which are very difficult because of what they represent, difficult experiences, hopefully we should derive from them encouragement and hope and direction. Now David HaMelech turns a little bit in a different direction in telling us how it's important to be aware, to be constantly aware of Hashem's presence in this world in various ways. And the reason for that is because he wants to strengthen our emunah, obviously. It's important that a Jew's faith constantly be strong. And today with batteries, we understand a little bit the idea of recharging. Batteries that are rechargeable need to be recharged. Human beings need to be recharged. Rabbis call that chizuk. Human beings need chizukim. They need to be recharged, they need to be stimulated. Otherwise, it's easy to become depressed. It's easy to lose track of what's important and what's not. It's easy to be distracted. Very easy to be distracted. And then, unfortunately, if we are distracted, we focus on the wrong things. We waste our time and energy. So, in Sefer Tehilim, he does a beautiful job. Even though it's poetic and sometimes difficult to understand, that is, of course, why we're learning it. Nonetheless, if one pays attention to the words, he sees not only the beauty in them, of course, but the wisdom, the great wisdom in how everyone can gain so much by just learning Torah and by pondering the beauty or the majesty of creation. There's so much to be gained, and that's what this chapter is about. How much there is to gain, he says, by just looking, observing creation, observing what there is to observe, of course, as much as we can observe, and by learning the Torah. The two of these are very, very important. It's a small chapter, but we're only going to do a little bit, maybe a little bit more than half of it. I want to save the other portion for another time. So let's begin. Lam natseach mizmor leDavid. So once again, David HaMelech is putting these words together as a mizmor, as a song. Why is a song? What is there to praise over here? Well, even though we're not talking about his life being saved, even though we're not talking about being able to defeat his enemies and being thankful for that, nonetheless, there's a lot to praise Hashem for. If we only took the time to look at creation closely, we would see so much. It's not just a matter of being thankful for everything. It's also in order for us to realize how beautiful everything is and how everything was created for us, for our benefit, for us to enjoy. Ultimately, of course, with the idea of serving Hashem. It's not just a place where we enjoy ourselves. So if we look at everything that God created, there's so much to be thankful and so much to praise. So that's why he's saying, these words, I'm preparing for the menatzeach, for the one who's in charge of the music, a mizmor. The following words will be put into a song. The following words will be put together in a prayer of sorts that is intended to praise Hashem for everything that he has done for us. What is there to see? Where do we begin? So he says like this, Hashamayim mesaperim kevod el u'maseh yadav rakia. You may have heard this pasuk. It's quite famous. It's a famous verse that says, just look around at the heavens. The heavens tell the honor of God. Just the heavens. You don't have to look too far. Hashamayim mesaperim kevod el. U'maaseh yadav magid rakia. And his handiwork. You can see his handiwork. Whose handiwork? The Creator's handiwork. You can see from the rakia. Now what's the rakia? So you can translate Shamayim as the heavens and the rakia as the sky. But I will choose here rakia to translate the word rakia as atmosphere. Even though they're interchangeable, but you will see why in a moment. There's so much that we can learn from what is above us and see and convince ourselves that, of course, it could not have happened by itself, that there must be a creator, there must be a God who created all of this. If we were to analyze in detail the composition of the atmosphere, as well as all the celestial bodies that exist in space. So here, David HaMelech is telling us that all you need to do, pretty much all you need to do to be convinced that there is a creator right now, he's not talking yet about Torah and mitzvot, he's talking about just belief in God, is just look around and see. Look at the heavens and the stars, and you will see this is impossible for it to have happened by itself through a Big Bang. Hashamayim mesaperim kevod el. Maaseh yadav magid rakia. Don't look too far, just look at the Shamayim and the rakia, and you can see his handiwork. Now, what is there in Shamayim? Rabbis tell us that in the Shamayim itself, the various celestial bodies, let's call them the planets and the stars, they move. They have an orbit. And during that time that they're moving, they're saying praise to God as well. They are also happy. They are also describing the greatness of the Creator in their own way. They somehow have a means of communication. Why don't we hear it? So the rabbis explain that it's because atimuto shel ha'adam, because man has a blockage. He's in the physical body. His eyes are blocked. His physical body blocks the neshama. Because of that blockage, he's not able to discern, to be able to see all kinds of things that exist in either a different dimension or even within the same dimension where he lives, but in a different spectrum. Can you see ultraviolet? I mean, there's all kinds of wavelengths. We can't see everything. We see visible light. Now, what happens when that visible light hits a prism? All of a sudden, you see various colors in the prism, a rainbow. Boom! Something split that light into various colors. And there's all kinds of radars that are able to pick up all kinds of sounds that the human ear cannot hear. Some of those sounds, dogs, animals can hear, but the humans cannot hear. So there's so much going on there that we cannot possibly hear because of that blockage, because of those limitations in the physical body. And the rabbis continue on to say that if that blockage would be removed, it would be so overwhelming for us, the sound, the pleasant sound that they make, that we would not be able to live, we would not be able to take it. It would be too overwhelming. It's so beautiful, that sound, that had it not been for that blockage and we would be able to hear it, it would be too much for us. So in other words, Hashem did us a favor. In other words, I don't want you to hear that. Those sounds I don't want you to hear. It'd be too much for you. But they too say song. They too say praise to Hashem on a regular basis as they're turning, as they're moving, as they're doing their function for which they were created. Yeah.
Mars.
Yeah.
Close to Mars.
Yes.
The sun. And the
Yes.
sun
I'm going to
so
talk.
beautiful.
I'm going to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
those sounds
so
soon.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like something.
Anyway, so Hashamayim mesaperim kevod el. what exactly do the heavens describe, or what do they actually say? So in the olden days, people became aware that there must be a God, because sometimes there's rain, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's a little. In other words, they realized that there's some sort of order here. And there's a God that decides this, and that is why even the Indians, the American Indians, how they ask for rain. They turned to whatever God they believed in their ways, with their rituals, to ask for that rain. It was through basic, primitive benefits, I guess you can call them, which they received from the Shamayim, the rain, that they were able to relate to this God. They saw a certain order in everything, the seasons. So they were able to pick up that there must be some power out there. They were mistaken, of course. Not always did they figure out what that power is, what that source is. Avraham Avinu did, even though he was growing up in a generation that pretty much was polytheistic. In other words, they believed in many gods. He realized that it's all from one source. Nonetheless, they realized that there is a seder, there's a beautiful seder, there's some order here, there's some beauty to all of this, it makes some sense. And of course, they had no doubts that this is created. The only question is how, through which God perhaps. It's only one. Who says? They may have thought, as many did, that there's a God for this, a God for this, and a God for that. All these powers. So on their level in the past, the Shamayim was misaper, the kavod of Hashem, in their primitive, limited way in how they saw it. Today, however, if we apply this pasuk to today's generation, with all the technology that we have, as you began to say, with all the discoveries they are making, they're able to pick up many sounds. They're able to see so much more detail and so much more beauty. The scientists should be the first to do teshuvah. There are some that did. They are the ones who should be the first, because they see it in the lab. They see life in a cell. We don't see the life in the cell. I mean, what cell? Yes, there's something called a cell, billions of cells. And they can actually see it. And they can see the life within every cell, a whole factory. And they see how the cells reproduce and make a copy of themselves. Wow. Who told him how to do that? Right? So you see, it doesn't take too much for a scientist with the tools that he has today to reach this conclusion. He doesn't have to look at the Shamayim. But this is, of course, more of an introduction of David HaMelech. This is an introduction to see the Creator, the Shamayim Mesaperim. Look how much you can learn from the heavens. And with today's technology, it's incredible how much they're seeing more and more. If they choose, of course, to see honestly with an open mind that there is a Creator, they will see it. All the stars, all the galaxies. So that's in the Shamayim. What about the Rakia? I began to say that the Rakia can be called atmosphere, because we see that from Sefer Bereshit, that an atmosphere was created above the earth. And what does this atmosphere do? It serves various functions. And we're not going to get into all the functions of the atmosphere, but we do know that the atmosphere consists of various gases. How come we're able to breathe here and not in the moon, not in Mars? Those planets cannot provide life, as we know life, here in Earth. The conditions that are necessary to provide life do not exist anywhere else, as far as we know. As far as we know. As far as, science knows, and as far as Judaism knows. If they ever find, it's not a contradiction. As far as we know, this is the place where God chose that there should be physical life the way we know life to be. There could be other forms of life, perhaps, but not human life. So the combination of gases, right? Oxygen, so much, a certain percentage of that, a certain percentage of helium, a certain percentage of all the various gases that are in the atmosphere. They're an exact percentage necessary to produce life. And if there would be too much of one gas, too little of another gas, we would not be able to exist here. Otherwise, if there would be, not a good balance, by turning on a match, you would burn everything down. Depending on which gas was greater. All the gases that need to be, for whatever purpose they're necessary, they're here with the right percentages. The atmosphere has the right amount of them in order to enable life. And obviously, the higher you go in altitude, the less oxygen you have. Because we're not supposed to live, very, very high. You couldn't survive unless you had oxygen on Mount Everest, a little over 29,000 feet above sea level. You need oxygen there. Maybe for a couple seconds you could be without oxygen, but not more than that. I feel it when I go to Mexico City and to all the cities that are high. As soon as I land, I have to catch my breath occasionally, not every second, but occasionally, especially if you exert more effort, it's difficult. But anyway, you could live there just fine. As long as there wouldn't be too much smog, it would be okay. Because the smog takes away too. So anyway, this is just one detail. There's many such details, not only in the atmosphere, but in the entire Earth. We would not be able to cover it, not even in 1,000 years, as Shlomo Melech says. Even if we were to live 1,000 years, we would not be able to appreciate and to know all that there is to know. It's a drop in the bucket. Creation, the world, what there is here, the chokhmah, the wisdom, it's impossible. You know that in the past a doctor used to know a little bit of everything, whereas today a doctor specializes just in one organ or two. Right? A doctor that deals with the stomach doesn't deal with your ears, doesn't deal with the brain for sure not. That's all. He knows a little bit of everything. He had to. When he went to college, they had to teach him a little bit of medicine, a little bit of the anatomy of the human being. But there's so much knowledge in the area of medicine that doctors have to basically limit themselves to a specific area. That's how much chokhmah there is. Just look at the eye. The eye is incredible. It even bothered Darwin. The eye was something that bothered him. How could the eye evolve by itself? Right? But today, they see it better because they have all the tools to realize what's going on behind the eye. What's enabling the eye to see. All the sensors behind it. The colors. How it communicates with the brain. Incredible. And all the repair work that they can do today as a result of this knowledge. Incredible. So Hashem enables life in this world by analyzing, of course, the creation, by analyzing all the details as much as possible. We can see that Kadosh Baruch Hu exists, that He is the one that created the world. Yom leyom yabi'a omer ve'layla le'layla yechaveh da'at. Okay, these are simple words, but if you read them and just read them quickly, you won't get what he's trying to say. Basically, as every day goes by, yom leyom, as every day goes by, yabi'a omer, the human being expresses from the time the sun rises until the time, the night, the sun goes down, he is able to express, yabi'a omer, is able to express praise, words of praise. He's able to say things that he has noticed from the moment the sun rises, yom liyom, until velayla lelayla, yechaveh da'at, where he can also express or talk about the great knowledge that he has experienced, the great knowledge that he has observed. So this is, in other words, on a regular basis, the fact that this cycle of sunrise and sunset is regular, and one is able to see the sunrise and do whatever it does, and then go down, all of that just brings about, if man chooses to, of course, yabi'a omer. It brings about the ability for us to appreciate and to express on how great all of this is. And, of course, what's the point of all of this? Is to give praise to Hashem, which we do. In the Siddur, the rabbis put it for us. Whether it's Modani Lefanecha, when you wake up, thank God that I'm awake. Thank God that Hashem gave me back the spirit of life. Some people didn't wake up this morning. Right? Whether it's Asher Yatzar, when we leave the bathroom, Baruch Hashem, all the organs are functioning properly, the kidneys, etc. No need for dialysis. Don't take anything for granted. Yabia Omer. That's what he says. Yabia Omer Yechaveh Dat. Praise it. Talk about it. And we do in the Siddur, if we understand the Siddur. But the Siddur is full of Pesukim, and many of those Pesukim are from Tehilim. Words of praise in describing the greatness of the world, the greatness of creation, the greatness of Hashem, and how He provides life in an incredible way. So that's what this Pasuk is, that on a daily basis, by seeing just a cycle of the sun go up, come out and come down from day to night, we're able to collect all of that experience and talk about it in praise. En omer ve'en devarim beli nishma kolam. And you know what's interesting about the sun, he says, or about the other planets? You can't hear them. They're not talking in a way that is audible to us. We did say that they sing and they praise before, but we don't hear it. En omer ve'en devarim beli nishma kolam. And we don't hear their sounds. Nonetheless, right, we know that they make some sound. We know that they produce some sound. And why don't we hear that sound? So I said earlier that we're not able to pick up everything because there's a blockage. But that was their words of praise. That was their song, perhaps. But what about the sound? Why can't we pick up a sound? The rabbi says, a sound you can pick up. The pleasantness that we said before of their singing and praising God, that Hashem doesn't want you to hear. There were some great tzaddikim, by the way, that were able to hear the angels. Not in their dream. While they were awake. And some of them couldn't take it. And they would faint from hearing the songs of the angels. It's so beautiful. So that we don't hear. But what about the sound of their movement? That is possible to hear. The rabbis tell us in the Gemara, if it wouldn't be for the noise produced in Rome, Rome was then the biggest metropolis, we would hear the sounds of the solar wind. I call it the solar wind, or the sun moving perhaps. Something coming from the sun, we would hear the sound it produces. If you look out the night sky in a big city, you can't see the stars so clearly. Why? Because there's light pollution. This is not the best place to use a telescope. You want to see the Milky Way? You want to see the rings of Saturn very clearly? You want to see some galaxies? Go to the desert, where it's very, very dark, especially where the air is crisp, at a higher altitude perhaps, and you will see beautiful, beautiful things. The stars will look so big. You'll see the Milky Way. Some people never saw the Milky Way. Wow, it's incredible. You know, I have a big telescope. You can see the rings of Saturn. Wow, it's beautiful. You can see the colors of Jupiter. Wow. And you can't see the American flag in the moon. I'm sorry, you know. It's just, that's already too small. But you can see the craters. You can see a lot with the powerful telescopes. Yeah, but the darker the sky. So that's called light pollution. Besides the other pollution, the atmosphere. If you go out, you can see. So in the same way that there is light pollution, there is a noise pollution. In other words, there's noise. You hear cars in the background. If you go outside, even though there's no cars here, there is sounds of the city that is blocking out other sounds. Right? If you go to the desert, it would be almost silent. I say almost, because there's still some noise from other places, far away places. So the rabbis tell us if it wouldn't be for all that noise, we would be able to pick up some of the sounds that the sun makes. Remember, the sun is very, very big. You want to know how big the sun is? You see this door? Imagine the sun would be as big as this door, from the bottom till the top. The earth would be the size of a nickel. If you want to get a little bit of a comparison, the sun would be as big as this door. The earth compared to that would be the size of a nickel. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the sun soon. But yes, there would be some sort of noise produced from the sun that we could hear if there wouldn't be all this other noise. Next pasuk, b'chol haaretz yatsa tavam, ובקצה תבל מלהם, לשמש שם אוהל בהם. So here he says, in the entire earth goes out their kavam. In other words, the shemesh, as when it goes out, their arc, its influence, its light, its heat. ובקצה תבל מלהם. And obviously they talk about it at the edges of earth. Everybody benefits from it. Everybody enjoys the sun. So the sun's sphere of influence is everywhere, and they talk therefore about it everywhere. Now it just happens to be that if you live in the northern latitudes of Finland, Sweden, Norway, and other countries, you're not going to get too much of the sun in the winter. And you're going to get almost only sun in the summer. Right? But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about generally the majority of people on the earth enjoy and are able to benefit a lot from the sun. And they praise it everywhere. They talk about it everywhere. And one of those things that people are unaware of, that the sun has, is Lashemesh Sam Ohel Bahem. What's that? To the sun, he put in them meaning in the heavens, in the Shemaim, a tent, a covering. The sun has a cover. What for? The sun has a cover? If you were to look at the sun, you don't see a cover. What kind of a cover is he talking about? The rabbis talk about this cover. The rabbis talk about the Nartika Chama. That had it not been for some sort of cover to the sun, the radiation would be too strong for us here. As it is, we need the ozone layer on top of the earth to protect us. The distance of 93 million miles is not enough. There's about an average, depending on the time of the year, depending on the year too, is an average of 93 million miles distance from here to the sun. So light from the sun to the earth takes a little over 8 minutes to reach us. Because of the distance, the light, that's how long the light takes for it to reach us. Nonetheless, because it's so big, and that's why I gave you the mashal, that's why I gave you the comparison of how big the sun is, because of its size, we're able to enjoy light and heat and energy from this incredible, massive body out there. It has tremendous, of course, power, and it's, of course, continuous. It's like a reactor, a nuclear reactor, continuous nuclear reactor, producing tremendous amount of energy, millions of degrees of heat. However, all of this heat, it's not the same temperature throughout the sun. You have different layers in the sun. You have, most probably you've heard of the corona. The corona is the outer ring that you only see when there's a complete eclipse of the sun. You see like a little ring around it? So there's different parts of the sun. You have the core, and then you have the various layers above the core, and let's just call them the atmosphere of the sun. The outer layers, especially the outer layers, because there's several, let's call it the atmosphere of the sun. That atmosphere supposedly is the Nartik Hachama. It is a cover of sorts to all that radiation, all that heat that's coming from the core, from the inside of the sun. And if it wouldn't be there, it would be very damaging. It wouldn't enable any life here. for too long. So that atmosphere, that nartika chama, is what is being referred to as ohel over here. L'Hashem yesh sam ohel b'hem. You ask anybody, what is this ohel? I don't know. Never learned about it. Unless somebody learned about the nartika chama, he may be able to connect the two. But that's what we're told in the Midrash, that that's what this ohel is. It's the same as the nartik. Otherwise, what ohel is he talking about here? And that, of course, is a great favor. That despite the fact that this sun is so good to us and beneficial, it's so powerful that Hashem has to put a cover on it. Next pasuk. והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו יסיס כגיבור לרוץ אורח. This is very interesting. You know what it basically reads? That the sun comes out every morning like a chatan, like a groom comes out of his chuppah. How does a groom, a chatan, come out of the chuppah? Is he happy? He better be. I hope so. Right after the chuppah is done, I mean, that's it, he's married. והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו. Wow, what a description. David HaMelech is incredible. I would never think of it like that. Like a chatan, okay, we'll see why in a minute. Yasis kegibor larutz orach. And he rejoices like a gibor, like a warrior, as he rushes orach in the course, wherever he needs to go. David HaMelech is describing to us, look how happy the son is to do the will of God. And there are other pesukim that pretty much tell us the same thing. He's so happy, like the happiness you would see on the chatan as soon as he leaves his chuppah, the canopy, right? Where he got married. He's very happy, he's overjoyed. And he rejoices, yasis, rejoices, kegibor, like a warrior who's rejoicing to go ahead, to go on the course, larutz orach, wherever he is that he needs to go. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the happiness that celestial bodies have in doing the will of Hashem. They're creations, and they're creations that have understanding. Just like human beings are creations, animals are creations, and plants are creations. Different levels, of course, of understanding and different levels of interacting in this world. Nonetheless, all these bodies and all these entities, call them what you want, all these creations or creatures have a certain understanding of who their master is. And they have a way of communicating. Animals communicate, plants communicate, and in their way. We don't understand their language, obviously, we're different. So here he says, and these planets, the sun, he's happy every day to come out again and shine and do whatever he does. And you wonder why he's telling this to us, because of the next few pesukim. There's a beautiful connection that he makes to this in a moment. We're going to get there. All we know right now is that the sun and all the planets are happy every day. Once again, they never get tired. It's never boring to do whatever it is that they're doing. That they rejoice like a gibor larutz orach. Now, what's this larutz orach? Because the sun has a maslul. He has an orach, he has a derech, he has a path. He has, as we're going to see it in the next pasuk, he has a path that he follows. He doesn't veer off the path. He stays the same place. So does the sun, so does the earth, so does the moon. They don't veer off and go somewhere else and do something else. Did you ever see the sun come up on the west instead of the east? It comes up every morning on the east. No, I want to come up on the west this time. That's the way Hashem made it. מקצה השמיים מוצאו ותקופתו על קצותם ואין נסתר מחמותו. From the edge of Shamayim he comes out, in other words, from the edge, from the east, from one corner. Utkufato, and it's in his circumnavigation, maybe we can use that word. Utkufato, in other words, because it's related to the word tkufa ona, season. So he's talking about in the word tkufato is that it's timing, it's rhythm, it's cycle, or its orbit. As it orbits and as it goes around, in space. Tkufato al ketzotam. In other words, it's all over on the edges of Earth. It reaches everywhere. Ve'en nistar mechamato, and there's no one that can conceal himself from its heat. What does that mean? Obviously, the sun is so powerful, it reaches everywhere. People are happy to see the sun every day. People enjoy the heat wherever they may be. Al ketzotam, everywhere. It is able to reach all corners. Some more, some less. Everybody feels it. Everybody enjoys it. The more of it, the better. Try to see two individuals, one growing up in a place where there's very little sun, and one growing up in a place where there's lots of sun. And look at the difference in their attitude, in their demeanor. The people who live in places where there's not as much sun and it's cold, they're easily depressed, moody, upset, and they drink alcohol. Yeah, go to Finland, Russia, vodka, to keep them warm, of course, and to make them happy. A lot of people in those countries commit suicide. Go to warmer countries, come to Southern California, and people are friendly to you, supposedly. They're nice. What does it have to do with? It has to do with the weather. It does. A lot of it has to do with the weather. So people enjoy it. And even though it's strong, they don't get hurt. So in this pasuk, he's telling us that this powerful body called the sun is felt by everyone. And everyone is able to enjoy it in many ways, not just in its heat that it provides life. It makes things grow. It provides energy. The sun gives off so much that everybody has so much to gain from it. Plus, look at the order. It is fixed. It comes back at the same time. It has seasons. Yesh lo machzor kavu, as we say in Hebrew. In other words, the time for it to come back is very, very fixed. You can predict the seasons as a result of that. And look at the distance. Even though it's so far away from us, nonetheless, it's still able to reach us. Baruch Hashem, it's not any closer. It would be too hot. Baruch Hashem, it's not a little bit too far. It will be too cold. Exactly where it needs to be. 93 million miles, except for the few times during the seasons when the earth tilts this way or tilts that way. It becomes a little colder, a little hotter, but just enough that we can take it. Unless, of course, you're in Antarctica, in some places where there's wind and cold, then it's difficult. But otherwise, Hashem made it livable. Some places there's more humidity, some places it's drier, but still, it's livable. It's manageable. Okay, so far we are impressed by what? We're impressed by astronomy. We're impressed by observing the greatness of Hashem, His creation in the heavens. Comes along David HaMelech and says, you're impressed with that? I'm going to show you something which is even more impressive. Something which is even more beneficial than the sun. Something that you can gain from even more from the sun. But you will also see some comparisons between the two of them. That's why he's going to tell it to us in this perek. Because you can see some common denominators. And what is that? The Torah. So the next pasuk is Torah Adonai Temima Meshivat Nafesh. Because you wonder, what's this doing after talking about the sun? Now he's talking about the Torah. Oh, maybe there's some similarities. Yes, the Torah of Hashem, if you were to learn the Torah of Hashem, you would gain so much insight about life. You would see the greatness of the Hashem. You would see the beauty in creation. You would see how everything is so organized, how everything makes so much sense. Plus more. And he's going to tell us what that more is. So first of all, he tells us that Torah Hashem is tamimah. It's complete. It's complete, it's not lacking anything. There's so much that the Torah has that you can gain from it in many, many ways. How is it good? First of all, Meshivat Nafesh. You think the sun is good? The sun is healthy? Yeah. Vitamin D? Yeah. Stick out, you go out, right? And makes your food grow, the plants, good. The Torah, Meshivat Nafesh. It restores the soul, the spirit. It gives you the desire to live. It gladdens your heart. It makes you happy. It gives you hope. You won't get this from the sun, not all of this. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, you can take a suntan outside, maybe you'll feel a little bit better, I don't know. Yeah? Get some color, right? It's warm. Look at the Torah. The Torah is temimah, it's complete, it's not lacking anything. It has so much to offer. And temimah, as you will see, means also that it's perfect. Okay? I'm translating complete because I want to talk about all that it has. It's not lacking anything, but temimah also means perfect. Why tell us that the Torah is perfect? Because I'm just telling you how everything about the sun is so perfect, and how everything is so straight, and how everything is so predictable as far as the cycles, right? How everything is created with precision. Well, the Torah is even more precise. It's temimah, it's complete. And it does so much for the soul. Edut Adonai ne'emana mahkimat peti. Continuing on with the Torah, the tenets of Hashem, Edut, Hashem, all the tenets, all the precepts of the Torah, ne'emana, they're trustworthy. You can rely on them. Rely on them? Yeah. It's coming from the Creator, they're not man-made. Man-made laws, they may be good now, they're not going to be good tomorrow. They're not forever. The Torah, the mitzvot, the edut, testimony. Why does he use the word testimony? Because it testifies to the fact that they were given by God, who knows what's good for the world for all times. So it calls it edut Hashem. They testify about God. Who else would give us a law? Don't eat pork. Why not? I was just in the Mexican market and I saw a paste. A paste. It's a famous paste that they use in Mexico. And I began to laugh because he says, you know what this paste is for? It's to, let me see what the English word would be. It's to dip your cochinito, your little piglet. It's to, to smear it, to give it color and to give it a little bit of, flavor. But it used the word pig or pork in a cute way. Your little piglet. So look, this is what they're thinking. They're going to use soy sauce, barbecue sauce, or this sauce to put it on their little piglet. Okay. So to them, this is normal. This is a normal animal that can be consumed. And if you add flavor to it, it may even be taste good. Comes along the Torah and says, you can't have that. But what about, I'd like to taste some zebra meat. It has stripes, cute. Torah says no. But what about kangaroo? Jumps around, maybe it's muscles. No. Torah basically guides us what we can have from animals, what we can have from fish. What's wrong with octopus? It's a delicacy in Japan, in other countries. Right? Oysters, shrimps. I mean, these things are nothing. But what about bugs? The Chinese have them. If they can eat them, then why not everybody else? Torah says no. You can't have them. The Torah doesn't tell us all the reasons, but the Torah just says one thing: I want you to be a holy nation. And these things will interfere with that holiness. I'm not going to tell you how, because that's Kabbalah. It's difficult, it's mystical in nature. You don't have to know all the reasons either. You don't have to. You accept me, right? You believe in me, right? Then believe that what I'm telling you is the right thing. Edut, Hashem ne'emana. Trust him. These are edut. They testify it's only a God that can give such laws. The President of the United States couldn't care less what you eat. As long as you pay taxes, right? Mahkimat peti, and these mitzvot, or I should say this Torah, it also contributes to making even a peti chai chacham. A peti is a simpleton, a person who's not so learned, a person who's naive, a person who's not too intelligent. It could make him intelligent. Anyone who's not so intelligent, not so wise, but he learns Torah, the Torah will give him more intelligence. So it's not an excuse for a person to say, well, to learn the Torah you need a PhD. Ma pitom! A PhD to learn Torah? Mahkimat peti! You can start off as a peti, right? And you will become a chacham. You'll be more knowledgeable. You gain so much from it. So far, what does he tell us? That this Torah is not so heavy, it's not so difficult. Even a peti can learn from it. Very important idea. Pikudei Adonai Yesharim Mesamechei Lev Mitzvat Adonai Bara Meirat Einayim. And that's the last pasuk that we'll do today, but we need to do a lot of explanation here. Pikudei Hashem. Look how he's using various words to describe mitzvot. We had the Torah, then we had Edut, now we have Pikudei, and now we're going to have Mitzvat Hashem Bara Meirat Einayim. So what's Pikudei Hashem Yesharim? The statutes, maybe we can translate that in English, of Hashem, his instructions are straight. Okay. For some reason, he's telling us not just about commandments, not just about the mitzvot that testify about him. He's giving the mitzvot various names because they do different things. They're not just rules, they're not just orders or commandments, they're tenets, they're fundamentals of life. They are directives. Beautiful synonyms in the English language that pretty much say the same thing, but they mean a little bit different, something else. So Pikudei Hashem, maybe I like the word directives. Have you heard that word? Directives. Yeah. That direct you, show you how to do the right thing, to follow the right path. These Pikudei Hashem Yesharim, they're straight. Remember we spoke about the sun, the maslul, the path, the orbit? It doesn't veer. The mitzvot are straight. The mitzvot will guide you in the right path. You don't have to worry. You follow the Torah, you will not make mistakes. People make tons of mistakes because they don't follow the Torah. They follow their evil inclination. They follow what their heart desires. They make mistakes. Shlomo Melech in Mishlei, so much advice. In Pirkei Avot, there's so much advice. In Kohelet, so much advice. But people still make mistakes because they don't learn. If they were to learn, they would not make many of the mistakes that people unfortunately repeat and repeat over and over again. So what's mitzvat Hashem bara meirat einayim? The commandments of Hashem. Mitzvah means the commandments. What Hashem commanded. They are clear. Bara means clear. They enlighten the eyes. Well, clear, that means if you study them, you will see they make sense. They're clear. They're not difficult to understand. Otherwise, he won't expect you to follow them. They're clear. They're easy. And Meirat Einayim means that they enlighten us. They show us the way. You follow this mitzvah, you fulfill this commandment, then it will show you the right path in life, how to succeed, how to do the will of God, how to get along with people. It enlightens us to do the right thing in life. Even in those areas where we don't know what to do, there is no particular commandment, black and white, what to do, but because we have the foundation of the Torah, we have the sense of direction of what to do, a sense of right from wrong, automatically. That's called Da'at Torah. Our knowledge is sipped in Torah. So when we have to decide if to do something or not, we will be making that resolution or that decision based on the clarity that the Torah has given us. Hopefully we will not be biased. Hopefully we will be knowledgeable enough to do the right thing. Because the Torah does provide us with clarity. The problem is people take bribes. So they've just bungled up their judgment, bungled up the decision. In other words, they just messed up because they will not have the clarity. It will blind them. Very simple. But if we follow the Torah properly, then it will show us the proper way. It will guide us. So far, what did we see from the Torah? That the Torah is shlema, is complete in the sense that it provides us with so much in life, much more than the sun. But he didn't tell us everything. He made it, even though he was very descriptive, he didn't say everything. So I want to add, what does the Torah actually do for us? Well, first of all, it brings us to Chaye Olam Haba. If you follow the Torah, learn the Torah, fulfill what it says, it will also give you a share to the world to come. This is the mafteach, this is the key. This is the map, yes, the map of how to live our lives, but it's also how to earn our share in the world to come. What else? It gives us the ability to neutralize the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. And of course, to merit, to acquire many merits to the fulfillment of the mitzvot. Okay, so far so good. The Torah does so much for us, we benefit so much from it. But what does that have to do with creation? What did we begin to say in the beginning of the chapter? That David HaMelech wants to impress upon us how we can, by pondering certain things, observing certain things, come to see how God created the world. Well, not only by observing the sun, not only by observing what there is out there in heavens and what there is down here in earth, but also by learning Torah. When one learns Torah, he will be impressed, yes, that God did create the world. With such a Torah, with such knowledge, who, if not God, can have all this knowledge and tell us everything that he told us? So the Torah is another venue, another way of how one can acquire enough information to be convinced, hopefully, that the world was created. He will be able to see the order. He will be able to see the harmony, the beauty, the design, the chokhmah, and everything by learning the Torah. So, could anybody do it? The answer is yes. We saw Mahkimat Peti. You don't need a PhD. No. By learning Torah, of course, there's deeper parts of the Torah, but regular Torah. We're not getting into the deep parts of the Torah. Learning regular Torah, even a petty, can become impressed. It can become knowledgeable, can become a chacham. What does he need to do? All he needs to do is to learn. All he needs to do is to observe, to figure out what the Torah, of course, what Hashem wants of him to do. Now, of course, he may need a teacher for that. Once he's done that properly, he will be able to see, he will be able to reach the same conclusion that Avraham Avinu did. No reason why not. And I tell it to everybody who's not observant, not religious, who's on the other end. I guarantee it. As long as you have an open mind, if you learn the entire Torah, you learn the Midrashim, you learn the Gemara, you learn the Zohar, a good deal of Torah, you will reach the same conclusion. How beautiful, how much wisdom there is here. This can only be for the Creator, this must be true. That's what he says. This is what should happen. If you start off with an open mind, obviously if a person has the wrong attitude to start with, he won't even read it well. He'll just go through it and read it like people read a novel, even less so than a novel. Well, novel, sometimes people get into it, It has to be with the right attitude. This is what the Torah meant when the Torah told us, Lo v'shamayim hi, ki karov elecha davar me'od beficha u'bevarcha l'sato. Don't think the Torah is so far away and so difficult to acquire. It is close. It's very easy to do. You just have to try. A lot of people get discouraged. Oh, it's so difficult. It will take me years to cover. Look how many books there are here. Look how much there is to learn. Start a little bit every day. And after a while, you will see how it makes a difference. How the human being is transformed as a result of the knowledge that he has gained. That is how people are influenced. By the books they read, the teachers they have, the friends they have, the environment. All of this influences us. Well, why don't you try to be influenced by the Torah? You'll see the positive effects. This is the Torah. What else can we add to this? What the rabbis tell us in the Gemara, in the Zohar. Look how much chokhmah they had and where did they take it from. The written Torah is not all the Torah. There's an oral Torah. All that the Chachamim knew from tradition. How could they have known these things that science is only discovering today? This is all Torah. Look how wise they were. How they knew certain things that only today and only recently the scientists are discovering with sophisticated tools. That chokhmah, that yeda, that knowledge was from the Torah. All right, so to summarize, we see in creation and in the Torah that there is a creator. What's lacking? So the Chazon Ish said something like this: it's not enough to just believe. We always have to have the desire to continue to learn and the desire to want to believe. If I remember correctly his words. There has to be a burning desire of wanting it, of wanting to believe. To just accept things, yes, I believe. Okay, fine, I believe. That's not enough. You want to have the desire, lamshich, in other words, to continue to see things that will contribute to strengthening that emunah. Emunah is not something static, faith. There has to be a desire. I want this. I want to believe. I want to be convinced. Oh, you have that inner desire to continue to learn so that you can be convinced even more, and so that your emunah can be even stronger. That's good. Then you're on the right track. Not too many people have that. Yeah, they have aspirations for money, aspirations for bigger home. For that they have aspiration and desire and interest. But to have emunah, no. What else is needed is, of course, humility. A person has to be humble. If he's arrogant, he's going to have a difficult time accepting marut, accepting somebody to tell him what to do. It's very simple. You can't be arrogant. You have to be humble. And, of course, submissiveness. You need to be submissive. You need to be accepting of a rabbi telling you that this is right and this is wrong, and that one may be mistaken if he uses his faulty judgment. Submissiveness, to be submissive to a higher authority. If a person does not have these qualities, it will make it so much more difficult. We said that even a petty can pick it up. Yeah, anybody can pick it up, but he still has to have an open mind. I call it open mind, but that's what I mean by open mind. I mean humbleness. I mean submissiveness. He's willing to be convinced. Convince me. Oh, you're prepared to be convinced? That's very, very good. How many people are willing to be convinced, and after they're convinced, they're willing to commit themselves? They won't get so far, because they don't want to commit themselves. So they're telling you, I don't want to be convinced. Right? Don't confuse me with the facts. I've already made up my mind. That's what they're saying. Okay, so what will trigger the desire to want to know? What will trigger the desire to be convinced? Where's the trigger? Either observation, Hashamayim misaperin k'model, go outside, observe and think, or tiftach sefer, open up a book, open up the Torah. That's the trigger. The qualities, of course, are important to have those qualities of humbleness and open and right, but we need a trigger. What's going to get you? What's going to initiate the process of becoming knowledgeable, and becoming wise, becoming convinced, becoming a true ma'amin? Either learn or observe. Go out and observe. Go out and look at the heavens and analyze it and ask questions and look for answers. And just enjoy it. In other words, absorb all of that in a proper way. So why aren't people doing it? Because they don't take the time to do that. It takes time to do that. In the meantime, they got to watch TV, they got to go play golf, they got to go swim, they got to go eat out, dinner, spend 2 hours, go to friends, birthday party, got a wedding here, got a bar mitzvah here. Time to think. Who wants to think? Let the computer do the thinking for him. Let others do the thinking for them. Such an individual will not have a very strong emunah, not a very strong connection with Hashem. Because the more one has clarity about the Creator, the more one sees the harmony, the beauty, and the order, the happier he is. The more he understands what this is all about, and the more he will be eager to learn more and more. Because he wants to have a relationship with Hashem. He realizes that this is the only truth. Everything else is silly, vanities. To reach that level, you need to learn and observe and ask. So that's the trigger. Very important perek, this. Very important perek. It's beautiful words, but it's not just the beauty of the words. It is to convince us, yes, we all as human beings need a trigger to be convinced. You're not born with it. You're taught by your parents, so what? I've known people who were taught by their parents and they dropped it after a while. Dropped it. How could you drop it? Yeah, because they're not so excited about this. You want to be excited? Begin to observe, begin to learn, and begin to ask questions. But Hashem will continue 2 weeks from now.